Hey everyone, it's Nightharo here, and today I've got a quick and dirty guide for Luscent Citadel. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. Whenever you first go into any trial or dungeon, remember that the first handful of ads you fight, and sometimes the first handful of ads after a particular boss fight, you'll only have like one or two. And the whole idea here is it's giving you a preview mechanic. It's letting you see what these ads do. So if you really want to understand what they do, is you'll leave them up, let them do their thing, and just see exactly what mechanics they do. You can always do that and find out for yourself what mechanics individual ads have by doing that. Now, when you get to the fourth pull here, this is the first like real difficult pull, I think. So the first thing you're going to find is that there's going to be a firestorm. Firestorm causes a large AoE, a fire to spawn, similar to what you've seen in Dreadcell Reef. That's the ad you really want to focus down. After that, you've got like a skirmisher, a slasher. The slashers put a significant bleed on your tanks as well as doing a hard-hitting heavy attack. The skirmishers will turn and throw a spear into group so that it needs to be roll dodged or blocked. It'll do significant amounts of damage, similar to what you've seen in Kind's Aegis. You kind of get the idea that all these mechanics are largely recycled. So the recommended priority on these is going to be the Firestorm, then the Skirmisher, because those AoEs can be a problem for your group, those spears being thrown into group, and then after that, it's going to be the Slasher, which just puts significant bleed on one of your tanks. I will note a mechanic that also pops up here, and I believe this is done by some of the smaller ads, as well as one of the Dark Casters, but what'll happen is that the AoE, you'll have AoEs that'll spawn at your feet, and those both do damage to you, anybody standing inside that AoE, and they also drain your resources. So I'm not sure which one is doing it actually in this particular fight. I'm sorry about that. But if you do get that AoE at your feet, you'll see that there's a spear over in the corner, and all you need to do is walk over to the spear in that AoE, and it'll cleanse you. Now, I will note that that AoE will do damage to you. So you don't want to just stand inside of it, but if you get the dark AoE at your feet, run into the Spear of Light and it'll cleanse you. Now after that, it's the first boss. So this boss is actually pretty straightforward and fairly easy. So what you'll have to do is split into two groups. So it's kind of like twins in Maw of Lorcaj or something like that. One group goes on one side, one group goes onto the other. And basically tanks just run up, taunt the boss, turn it away from the group. After a little bit, there's going to be a couple of ads that'll spawn, two on each side. One will be a larger ad that can be taunted by the tank, and there'll be two smaller ads. The two smaller ads cannot be pulled in or taunted by the tank. They also have a damage shield on them. It prevents them taking any damage whatsoever. They're completely immune. When those two smaller ads spawn, two people in group will get a Spear of Light, a Pillar of Light above them, which does a little bit of damage to them. But the main purpose of it is you run over the smaller ads, and that'll break their shield and make it where you can damage them. So the two random people in group that get that AoE, it could be healer, could be the DPS, will not be the tank, just need to run over those smaller ads and break that shield so that they can be killed. I think the easiest way to do this in most pug groups is just to have the tank actually move the main boss and that ad onto the smaller ads. And then the person with the shield or with the beam of light still needs to step over them, go ahead and break those shields, and then you can kill them pretty quickly. The two people with the beams of light that does damage to you, don't stack them. So you want to run to a different one than the other person, but I think that's the easiest way to deal with it. If you ignore those ads, they will get larger, they will enrage, and the tanks aren't going to be able to really do anything about it. So keep that in mind. There are some sweatier and strats you can do and stuff like that, but I think that's the easiest thing to do for most groups. Now, after a little bit, after that first round of ads has spawned, the boss will start to channel, and this will be easiest typically for the DPS to see, but if you look through the mirror to the other side, you'll see that one of the three pads on the other side is lit up. And what that's telling you is that you need to go stand on that pad on your side, the mirrored pad. So if it's the middle pad on the other side, it'll be the middle pad on your side, or if it's the entrance pad on the other side, it'll be the entrance pad on your side, just the mirrored of that pad. Everybody needs to go stack on that because there's about to be an AoE that'll blow up, kind of like Maw of Lorcaj, killing anybody who's not on that pad. And then what'll happen is it'll switch sides with you. Everybody will teleport to the other side, and then the tank will have to grab taunt on the boss, and you'll just rinse and repeat. Ads will spawn in. The tank needs to make sure they grab that big ad very quickly, and the DPS need to kill that big ad very quickly because it does do a decent amount of damage, but that's literally it. Healers in this fight need to make sure that they're using radiating regen or any other kind of ranged heal that they can that is sticky. So Vigor is another one that'll work really well, or if you have like Chakram Shield or what have you, because the DPS does have to potentially run out of group to debuff those ads. After that, it's rinse and repeat. The only other trick you need to worry about is that both bosses need to die pretty close to the same time. If they don't die close enough together, what'll happen is the one that died early will respawn with, I believe, 35% health, and then you'll probably kill the other one too early, and then it just prolongs the fight a lot. So just make sure that your DPS is split equally and that you DPS them down together, and then it's just rinse and repeat and you're on to the next boss. It'll be a continual theme throughout this entire fight that all of the ads, or all this entire trial, is that all of the ads that come in are the ones you really need to worry about, which is something that Zos often does. You need to kill the ads quickly because they hit really hard. So keep that in mind. Now moving on to the next set of ads. Again, you're going to find a couple of ads all by themselves. These are preview mechanics. So if you want, spend some time, figure out what the various ads do. Other thing you'll notice that these various skeletons, and this is actually, I think, true in the earlier fights, they just die so quickly. They're not skeletons at that point, but they die so quickly that you don't even notice it. But the smaller ads are the ones that actually cause certain mechanics. So these are the guys that are causing the AoEs to spawn at your feet. And then here the Lightbringer creates an AoE, a spear that you can go cleanse in. And then you move to the second ad pool, and this actually gets difficult here. So there's several iridescents in this fight. What I would personally recommend you do is have one of your tanks grab the left and the back iridescent, and then run to the right corner that is nearest the group and pull them towards the other iridescent. Now, when these iridescents die, they leave a spear of light. That spear of light is what you can cleanse. If you have that dark AoE at your feet, you can walk through it and it'll cleanse it. But also, any ad standing inside that will be immune to damage. So you don't want to pixel stack these guys, but you can get them in a loose circle or loose triangle where they will die and not make the other ones immune. So just keep that in mind. The other tank is going to grab the front right iridescent and then chain in all the ads. Throughout this entire trial with the ad pools, if you have something like Vatishram Sword and Board or any Rune of Displacement or anything else that you can pull the ads in, that'll be really helpful because it's actually the smaller ads that do a lot of the mechanics, and they're the ones that really need to die quickly. If you have a group with low DPS, what I would recommend is when you first do these pulls, don't focus the big ads, focus the really small ads, kill them, and then that'll make the rest of the fight go a lot easier. If they get resurrected, some of the ads will resurrect the smaller ones. The elite ads will resurrect the non-elite ads, and the tanks will have more of an opportunity though, and more of a chance to pull those ads in and make the fight go a lot easier for you. Now, this next ad pull here, it's a little bit tricky. What I would recommend is you have one of your tanks taunt the left and to the back ad, the Lightbringer Iridescent. And then what I would recommend is then they run to the right, the same place you did on that last pull, kind of stack into the corner. And what'll happen is the other tank will grab the one that's walking down the stairs, and they'll stack fairly close to each other, hopefully not on top of each other. And that's the goal here, close but not on top. And then you could just AoE them down. If you get the dark AoEs at your feet, make sure you're cleansing. Your tank that was not having a range stack will also help chain in the ads. That's their primary job. And you should be able to get through that one without too much trouble. Again, cleanse yourself in the AoE when the iridescent dies if you need to. And then this next ad pull, this third one after the boss, it's pretty difficult. And the problem that I was finding, and I don't know if this was a bug or what was going on, it was incredibly difficult to get them all stacked. So what I would personally recommend is just not. You're going to have a firestorm. That's going to be the priority. And then just stack the rest of them as best you can. Tanks, make sure you grab taunt on everything and then just AoE them down. If you're not going to get the ad down, the firestorm, before it goes off, just make sure that your group has decided if you're going to, most groups you should just move out of that AoE. And as you can see here, there's just kind of chaos and just a ton of AoEs. There'll also be the dark casters causing the AoEs at your feet that can be cleansed in the pillars of light, and quite the tricky ad pull here, as you can see. But just do it a couple of times if you need to. After that, we are on to the first mini boss. So this guy is kind of like one of the elite ads. He just has more health. So you'll find a bunch of skeletons that just need to be chained in and then killed very quickly. If you keep the skeletons dead, this fight will go super easy. So just keep that in mind. They will debuff you. If they do, just run into the crystals around the outside that are rotating and cleanse yourself. This mini boss will heavy attack you, and if you do not want to roll dodge his heavy attack. They've adjusted this a couple times during PTS, and if you roll dodge the heavy attack at the wrong time, it just like one-shotted my entire group. I don't know if he enrages or if it's just that he does a mechanic that does something, but it just completely one-shotted my entire group when I, as the main tank, roll dodged it. So make sure you just hold block through the heavy. It's not that hard hitting, honestly. And honestly, that might be true to a lesser extent with some of the other ads in the fight that maybe you just want to hold block through their heavy attack. I haven't had enough problems with this that it's really been like, I'm not sure what the best practice is just yet. I'm sorry about that. After that, they'll just rinse and repeat. DPS the boss when you can. Whenever the ads come up, make sure the skeletal ads die very quickly. Make sure you don't stand in AoE so people aren't dying. Make sure you grab, the off tank grabs the crystal Atronach whenever it spawns, stack it with a group, and then just rinse and repeat. It's not too hard of a boss. Now, after you've gotten this boss down, you have a really interesting and different, unique mechanic. You can fly. You turn into a will-o-wisp. So if you go and you hit E on the AoE in the middle of the group or in the middle of the arena here, it'll pop you up in the air and it turns you into a will-o-wisp. If you press forward, you will go in the direction you were pointing. So what you want to do is before you actually turn into a will-o-wisp, I want you to like align and decide where you're going to go. You can try to head all the way to the top as I did here and didn't quite make it. If you fall, you'll die. Not a big deal. Res, try it again. But you can just go to one of the lower platforms and it's not a big deal. So what I would personally recommend, especially the first time, is just pick one of the lower platforms, aim for it, hit E to pop yourself and turn yourself into a wisp, and then just press forward and you'll head straight towards it, okay? Now, the balls floating in the air, the red balls you want to avoid, those are bad. The yellow balls are good. If you can, you want to go through them. They'll give you more stamina. What happens is here is the entire time you're a wisp, your stamina is being drained, okay? And there's nothing you can do besides, like you can't drink a potion or anything to regain stamina. So you just want to keep flying, and then if you go through one of the white balls, it'll give you stamina. You'll have two buttons. The first button, one, will give you speed. I'd recommend popping that right off the bat so that you really get going in the direction you want because they have a cooldown. And then the two button will pause your stamina from draining for a little bit, okay? So you'll just, after you've gone for a little bit, hit that and it'll pause your stamina for draining. Once you get to the platform you want to be at, just wait. For the duration to tick down, your stamina to go down to 0. It'll turn you back into a person. Then you can turn into a wisp again and head back up. And you can just go platform to platform. You don't need to do it all in one go. I know it can be very disconcerting. Again, point where you want to go, then hit E, your use button, and then just press forward and you'll go right there, okay? Get on the platform you want to be on, let the duration expire, and then just rinse and repeat, and you should be able to get up there in 2 or 3 goes, no problem. I know that can be very disconcerting for people that have like motion sickness and other things, so I know it can be tricky. After that, this is not the best ad pull that we did here. So you have several ads in the middle of the light bringers that are ranged and won't move. So what I recommend is one person grabs the right ads, one person grabs the left ads, and then just loosely stack them around the ads in the center. Remember that when several of the light casters die, they'll leave that spear where you can cleanse, but it also makes anything inside there immune to damage. So the main thing you want to do is pull in those skeletons and then kill the torch caster as quickly as you can because it'll create those large AoEs, and then just kill the other ones kind of. Honestly, I don't know what the ideal priority list for them is, but it's something we'll figure out soon. The main thing is that as your group gets the various debuffs and everything, that they go cleanse and that you avoid the AoEs as best you can because it can be quite tricky. You kind of have the same deal with the next ad pull here. You've got a lot of ads. Kill the Darkcaster Firestorm first because of the AoEs he lets out. Slashers are almost always last. They put a significant bleed on your tank, but then you don't really have to worry about them killing the group as much. Several of the other mobs will create various kind of AoEs that are more of a problem for your group. So Firestorm first, Slashers last, everything else, I suppose, in the middle somewhere. Now you're finally to the second boss. And what happens here, you can look around the room and you'll see there's a light and dark mechanic. So the room right now is light whenever you first walk in, meaning that the large mirrors or large windows on the outside are yellow or lit up. And then you can see the smaller mirrors are yellow as well. If you turn enough of the small mirrors by going up to them and pressing E, it'll turn to red. It'll turn dark. And if you turn enough of the small mirrors dark, then the room itself will become dark. And you'll notice that these are light ads. These are crystal ads. You might not know that they're light, but I'm telling you now, I guess. The light ads, when the room is light, are immune from damage. They don't take any damage. And similarly, in a second, dark ads will spawn, and when the room is dark, they don't take any damage. So what you have to do is assign everybody to a mirror. And there's 4 out right now, but there's going to be 8. The mirrors you can see when you first walk in are 2, 4, 6, and then 8. And then there'll be 4 more that spawn later on in the fight. So what you want to do is assign all 8 of your DPS to a mirror, and it really needs to be DPS. So opposite entrance is the convention that we've kind of chosen is going to be 1. And then if you go clockwise, you'll count 1 through 8. Okay, so that's why it's 2, 4, 6, and 8 around the room. And everybody needs to know which mirror is theirs and be very clear that they can go to a mirror. And the reason for that is because when you first go in and pull, your tanks grab the ads, the color needs to be switched. So whoever has 2, 4, 6, and 8, I'd recommend assigning new people to that so they can try out this mechanic. They need to go up to that mirror and immediately turn the room dark. Now, whenever you use a mirror and turn the room dark, it puts a dot on you. It puts a significant dot on you. So you want to make sure that you have your healers using stuff like radiating regen, and also that every single one of the DPS needs to have a heal. Not 3 heals, not 2 heals and a shield, not whatever, just 1 self heal. Everybody in the group, or shield, everybody in the group needs to have, because you will take a bunch of damage whenever you're using the mirrors. And the healers will try to their best to keep you up, but it's always best to go a little bit safe in any kind of normal group. So then you change the room to dark. You'll be able to kill those ads. The ads, again, a reminder, they hit extremely hard. The ads are really the problem in this fight. And so getting the room the right color so you can kill those ads very quickly is what will lead to your success as a group. Okay, so the room gets changed. You kill those ads. Tanks, you're just going to turn the ads away from the group. They do various mechanics. One of the mini bosses that comes down, the off tank will have, does a chain lightning mechanic, so they don't want to be standing in group when that happens. There's various AoEs, but it's all basic tanking stuff. And you'll notice the light ads do the shield throw, kind of like they're basically like the warrior in Hellraw Citadel. They'll do a channeled attack and then they'll do a shield throw. So keep an eye out for that. The darker ads, the red ads, they'll cause fire tornadoes to spawn. Those tornadoes are stationary on the ground. So if several of them spawn, your tanks can just simply move to a different location, and the DPS can simply move to a different location and kill them out of group, and just don't go into that area if you can at all help it. Now, once both sets of ads have been killed, what's going to happen is Zorn, the mini boss, is going to spawn in, and the main boss is going to activate. So the main tank grabs the boss in the center, the off tank grabs Zorn, and they'll have to just keep them turned around. Now, you do need a healer to kite in the background, because periodically Zorn will jump to whoever is furthest from him. And so ideally you have one of your healers stand a little bit behind group towards the entrance, and he'll jump to them. And as long as the off tank keeps taunt, he'll just move back to the off tank, and it's no big deal. But you do need to assign a healer to that kite phase. Other than that, for the main boss here on the main tank, the other thing that'll happen is when you push the boss periodically, I believe it's health gated. I believe it's 90, 70, 40, 25, and 10. Don't quote me on that. He will charge to the middle, which means the DPS need to roll dodge or get out of the way, or block, I suppose. It might not kill you. And then he'll channel, and you'll see tendrils go from him to all of the mirrors that are currently up in the room. And what needs to happen is within a couple of seconds, you'll see that the floor large AoE starts to spawn. Every DPS that is assigned to a mirror needs to go click their mirror, and it'll turn off. You'll see the line going from the boss to the mirror will go away, and that'll stop. Once everybody does that, it'll stop the floor from blowing up. This is a party wipe mechanic, by the way. So if anybody doesn't do that, it will absolutely one-shot the entire party. Now, when the boss charges to the middle, the off-tank and potentially the main tank could help out here, but it's mostly the off-tank's job. Ads will spawn, and it's their job to get those ads before they go over and kill a DPS that's at a mirror, okay? So whenever the boss charges to the middle, tanks need to be taunting ads. Main tank can help out the off-tank here. All the DPS need to go to the mirrors. Later on, it'll be all 8 mirrors, so everybody will have to go to a mirror and hit it. Each time, remember, whenever you hit the mirror, it puts a dot on you. It's a big dot. That's why you need that self-heal. If you try to do two mirrors, you probably can, but you will also probably die from the damage over time. I don't know if anybody's done 3. I imagine you probably could, but you're probably going to die shortly after. So just keep that in mind. Everybody needs to be alive and needs to be contributing if you're going to get through this fight. Once that happens, you just need to make sure that you can damage the ads. You might need to change the room's color again immediately. Just keep that in mind. The ads do a ton of damage to your tanks, and they're what's going to wipe the group, okay? So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're focusing down the ads, that you're changing the room's color to get rid of the ads, and then once all the ads are done, then you can focus on the boss. Other than that, for the main boss here on the main tank, periodically you'll see these glass orbs spawn. What you need to do as a main tank is just bring the boss and go stand on top of him, and then when he goes to heavy attack you, it'll break that orb. If you don't do that, several more will spawn, and then eventually it'll just wipe the group. So the main tank does need to keep an eye out for that. And I know that's a lot. I know it seems like a lot. You can see there's a bunch of AoEs and other things that spawn around the room as well. But after that, that is the fight, okay? After that, it's just rinse and repeat. Each time the boss charges to the middle, and also at several health gates. Again, I believe it's 90, 60, and 40. Ads will spawn, and the mini boss will come down as well. Anytime the boss charges to the center of the room, ads will spawn. Tanks just need to make sure they're grabbing those ads quickly. DPS just need to make sure that the room is the right color and that the raid lead is calling it so that they know what color to change the room so that the ads and the mini boss die quickly, and that'll make the fight go fairly easy. Things that are going to prevent you from wiping are people not knowing how to use the mirrors, tanks not grabbing the ads fast enough so that they kill the group, and then people not having a self-heal or something and dying out of group with the dot. Obviously, the healers will be spamming radiating regen a lot in this fight. Any other kind of sticky hot like Vigor they have, they'll also want to be using. But those are the things that are really going to kill you. The only other thing is that like if the main tank doesn't take the boss over to those crystal orbs and have the boss smash them, that can also be a party wipe mechanic. But after that, it seems like a lot, but after that, it's just rinse and repeat on this fight. Now, once you finish this, you have Chaos Ball, a new mechanic, a new fight style, something totally different than we've seen before. So an orb, a Chaos Ball, basically a really pretty one, will spawn in the center. I would recommend having your supports grab it at first, probably your main tank, and then everybody has to channel. It's going to teleport you all together to outside this room. Everybody needs to stay close to the person with the ball because otherwise they're helping quote unquote carry the ball. And if they don't stay close to them, that person will get slower and slower. So you can leave the ball behind. That person's going to die out of group. And then the party will wipe. So you all want to stay together, move with the ball. And then what you want to do is just run to the crystals. There'll be various ads that spawn. Just have the tanks grab those ads and stack them on top of the crystals. As soon as the crystal dies, though, I recommend just moving to the next crystal. And that's all you're doing. You're just moving the ball to the next crystal, killing the crystal, cleaving the other ads, and then just continue to move. Now, periodically, the person holding the ball will have to drop it, and you'll see an AoE start to spawn beneath them. You want to get out of that. Everybody needs to get out of that. Whenever that drops, it's going to CC the person who had the ball, and then somebody else needs to come and grab it. You can see here it happening out of group. If you are inside that AoE when the ball drops, it'll put a debuff on you where you won't be able to grab the ball. And you have to continually pass the ball between all group members throughout for like a very long time here. So if you get the debuff early, it might be the case that no one could pick up the ball at the end and your group will wipe, okay? Eventually you'll go into a room with another mini boss. This is honestly not that hard. And then it'll actually be Zorn, the last boss. Again, there's all kinds of craziness on the way. There's ads that are spawning, what have you. In general, just drag them to the next crystal, DPS the crystal down, and again, it's just rinse and repeat. Now, when you get to this area here, there's a bunch of these little ads and a bunch of necromancers. Your group really needs to kill those necromancers fast. Drop ults, save ults for here. There's a couple of ways to do it. One is to have one of the tanks run to the end, grab all the ads, and come back. That works really well, but it's very difficult on the tank. The other way is to just make sure that your entire group is doing a really good job of focusing the necromancers, dropping ults on them quickly, and killing them very fast, and then kill the crystals once the necromancers are gone. This is going to be the part that's probably going to hold up the most people. Now, after this, you are eventually going to get to the final boss, Zorn. Again, you're going to have more crystals to kill, but once you get to Zorn, there's really, honestly, like not much else going on here. Zorn is not that hard. The only mechanic you really need to worry about, ads will continue to spawn. Have your off tank grab that. You do have to do the ball mechanic. Make sure that's not dropped in group and debuffing everybody. Zorn has a bunch of health. You do need a tank swap every heavy attack, or he will one-shot. So the tanks are constantly swapping taunt, but other than that, it's extremely easy and straightforward. Just make sure you tank swap every heavy attack. But the main thing you want to do is just like there'll be lines that pop up and just don't overlap them. If you overlap with two of the lines, they will one-shot you. One line shouldn't kill you. Just hold block and you'll be fine. And then that's it. You run the ball out of the arena and then you're good to go. Anyways, hopefully this guide was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. I'll be streaming this trial, probably running some pugs throughout the week and with some of my regular groups. So feel free to come by and ask any questions you might have. Hope this was helpful. Appreciate you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.